On this episode, we're doing some tuning on the Fiasco. What the? You left the key on? You left the keys on. Let's see what happens now. Not enough juice. Right here is my air fuel ratio gauge, AFR. It works off of a wideband O2 sensor that I installed into the exhaust pipe coming out of the exhaust manifold. This is your AFM, air fuel meter. So this regulates the amount of fuel going into the car. And the AFR reads that and gives you a number indicator for your air fuel ratio, the mixture basically, what's coming out of the exhaust pipe. I've made a couple of videos about the AFR, one where I was tuning on this, adjusting on the spring tensioner in there, and we fattened up the mixture, got it into the 12s, 13s. There was one point in fourth gear, about 5,000 RPM, where it would drop down into the 11s, which is rich, and then it would creep back up into the mid 12s. So I also did a video on coils. We read across the poles, we read the inner windings, and determined that this fast PS60 is the hottest coil we can run as far as resistance goes. It was like 0.3 ohms across the poles, and the other ones were 1.2, 1.4-ish, even though they're all supposed to be 1.5 ohm coils. So the hotter the coil, the hotter the spark. The hotter the spark, the more voltage go into the plugs. The more voltage go into the plugs, the wider the gap. So I was running a 30 thousandths gap on these plugs when they were installed. And then this week, I widened the gap to 40 thousandths. And then I took it for a run, and there is a distinct difference in the air-fuel ratio. So it went up anywhere from 0.5 to 1.0. So for instance, that spot where it was dipping down into the 11s, now it's dipping down into the 12s. The rest of them have all ticked up. Flat out cruise was around 13.1. Now it's around 13.7, 13.8, which is good. We're running a little bit leaner when we cruise, so we're burning less fuel. That's good for economy. But we still want more power. So what we're doing is we're tuning the mixture to suit the motor for its current conditions. Back in the old carburetor days, you would change out the jets and then go for a run and see how it felt. If it felt good, then you'd make some more adjustments. Put in some fatter jets, take it out, see what happens. If it was too fat, you lean it out. You adjust the power valve. You're adjusting the emulsion tubes. You're mixing up all sorts of parts in the carbs to get the proper mix. With this thing, all you have to do is tweak on this AFM. I want to tell you like it was told to me. If you're not tuning with an AFR gauge, you might as well put your gas monkey garage hat on backwards and do nothing. That's how it was put to me by a, let's just say, a professional tuner. Because if you're not running an AFR gauge, you really have no data of what is happening inside the engine. It's just a big air pump. It sucks air in, mixes it with gas, compresses it, fires it, and then pumps it out. So we want more air in for more air out. We get more air in, we can put more fuel in. More air, more fuel, bigger bang, more power. So I saw a distinct change in the AFR with the gap change on the plugs. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to gap them out at 45 thousandths and see what happens. Now, if you get too big of a gap, you're going to get misfire and the car's not going to run right. So you're going to either feel it, hear it, or something like that. But if you're running an AFR gauge and the plugs start misfiring, then the mix is going to richen up and you're going to see the gauge go down into the 11s, 10s, whatever. We have a gauge here that can tell us when we've gone too far. I thought 40 thousandths was enough, but I want to try 45. So I'm going to do it. So the dipstick is in the way. And I'm going to start over here on number 4 because it's the biggest pain in the butt. This coolant hose is in the way. And I can't get my tool on there. I mean, I probably could if I tried a little bit harder, but this works too. And then once you get it started, you gotta pull the socket off and take it out of my hand. So if we take this doomajig and put it under here, we're about 40 thou. And then we're going to bump it up. To about 45 thou. And then you pop it out like this. And then we want a 22 and a 23. And so we're 45 thousandths. And the plug doesn't look too bad at all, but we're just gonna clean off some schmutz anyway. And my glasses. Oh, they're over here. Put it back in. Shiny metal is less sticky. And this one I drop about 14 times before I finally get it to start. Oh, I got it. Well, I guess after you do it so many times you get good at it. Maybe. Okay, they get progressively easier as we go. These are the NKGRs. BPR6EY is what we're running. So now we got the plugs gapped to 45 thou. Next, I'll put you inside and try to get you focused on the AFR so you can watch how it reads. Since I've already seen it, I'll know if the numbers go up, and if they go down, then that means we got a miss. So stay tuned. Going for a drive. So I put you here mostly so you could see the AFR gauge. Car's cold. We got to get it to warm up a little bit. Freaks them out sometimes. I'm gonna have to flip. Sorry, I let the clock blinking the whole time. It's okay, we'll make another run. Let me turn it off. This thing has to reset after every time you re-energize it. How's that? Happens a little faster. So for that run, we were more in the upper 13s. it would dip down into the mid 12s briefly and then bump back up. Not as a dramatic as an increase as when we went from 30 thou to 40 thou, but we only went 5 thou this time, so we're at 45 thou. Car's hot, so I'm not going to be able to make any more adjustments for a while. I want to burn myself just for y'all. But what I think I might do is go adjust on the AFM and give it one more tick of fuel off the spring and see if it drops me down, how much it drops it down. Let's say that. How much is one more tick of spring going to do? So if we're running more on the lean side, we can add more fuel. When we add more fuel, we get more bang for buck. We get more power. Let me think about that.